This meeting is held in accordance with the Open Public Meeting Act 10:4-6 et seq. Annual notice having been forwarded to the New Jersey Herald and the New Jersey Sunday Herald and posted on the bulletin board maintained in the municipal building for public announcements. Is our attorney here?
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
Can you
okay.
hear me?
Yes,
Yep.
I
I
do.
can hear you.
Yep.
Okay, good.
Okay, will the secretary please call the roll?
Mr. Bongiovanni,
Here.
Mr. Duncan,
Here.
Mr. Gaffney,
Here.
Mrs. Crock. Ron, can you just see if that phone number that's trying to get in, can you unmute that and see if it's Judy?
Sure.
I'm here.
There
She's
you
here.
go.
I thought so. Mr. Lejo, Mr. Rayhill,
Here.
Mr. Ray, Mr. Riley,
Here.
Mr. Toppin,
Here.
Councilman Schindler,
Here.
Mayor Francis,
Here.
Mr. Gilbert.
Here. We do have a quorum. We also have present tonight our attorney, our engineer, and our enforcement officer. So we're good.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like very much if we said the Pledge of Allegiance before our meeting.
Okay. I have no objection to that. Well, I have a flag behind me if
Yep.
people can see me.
Ron's got one on his shirt.
Okay.
Yes. See that?
Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the
And to the
republic
republic
For which it
one
stands.
nation,
one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice
liberty
for all.
and justice for all.
Thank you.
Here.
I would like also to have a moment of silence for all of our friends, neighbors, and relatives who have been afflicted by this coronavirus, this COVID-19. So if you don't mind, a moment of silence. Thank you very much. Okay, we will begin tonight with a completeness hearing. Mr. Thomas Gage, block 11112, lot 1514 Brown Trail. The applicant will like to come before the board for a completeness review of his project to build
I
a
can hear them.
single-family home on a vacant lot on Brown Trail. Mr. Gage, I believe, is here.
Yes.
Yes, okay. Mr. Gage, you want to be sworn in by our attorney, please?
Well, this is just completeness, so we're not starting the public hearing. So this will
okay.
just be a discussion. We have
All right.
Mr. Rushke's report dated May 21st.
All right. In that case, I would like to start with a couple of questions to Mr. Gage. Mr. Gage, on June 5th, 2020, you sent a letter to us believing that Mr. Rushke has a conflict of interest in your application and asking that he recuse himself and his firm. I personally have no intention of asking Mr. Rushke to recuse himself or his firm. What I would like to do is to point out to you that, and Bill, please, Bill Haggerty, please tell me whether or not this is correct. I believe that it is the legal responsibility of this board to have an engineer review.
Well, we certainly should in this type of case. I read the documentation provided by Mr. Gage. As I understand it, he has litigation involving officials in Somerset County. Mr. Rushke's firm does some business that he pointed out in minutes with Somerset County. I don't see that as I don't see the conflict. I don't see the nexus there. If John Rushke felt uncomfortable in proceeding, I'm confident he would let the board know and express that opinion, but certainly I don't feel that based upon what was presented that creates a conflict.
Right. I tend to agree. So, Mr. Gage, would you like to, I have two more questions. Could you explain to us how the plaintiff is precluding you from exercising your First and 14th Amendment rights. Mr. Gage.
Mr. Gates, you're on.
Mr. Gage, are you there? Do you hear us? Mr. Gage, do you hear us?
I see him, but he's not saying anything.
No. He's not muted, is he?
Nope.
No.
Mr. Gage, do you hear us? There's no indication that he hears us.
I'm at no man's land now.
Danielle, do you have his phone number?
Hold on, I might be able to pull it up on an email.
Yeah, let's call him and tell him that we're having a technical problem.
He
He's
might have the
fully,
volume down on his computer, maybe?
he's fully in, Mayor.
Yeah,
He's no
in.
restrictions on him. He's fully in.
Hey, guys, I can also hear you.
Okay.
Thanks for the candy.
I'll make it up to you.
I got my own bag of chips.
Poor
I
baby.
got Cheez-Its.
Oh,
I'm not saying that he hears us.
No,
I
I don't think he does. I see him on the video, but he doesn't respond to any queries or.
He's lifted his phone to look at it, so I'm not sure.
I'm trying
Taco
to.
Tuesday.
I don't see a phone number, Danielle, with the emails.
Is there a
Hold on,
phone
I got
number
one
on
on
his
the
application?
I don't know whether he would respond to an email, but
I'm going to try calling him right now. I'm going to mute myself.
okay.
Danielle, I'm going to keep control of this until we're done with this, okay?
He's on mute anyway.
Got it.
I do have a phone number for him.
There he is. He's answering his phone.
Picking up right now. Just checking.
I tried his phone number on the application and it goes to voicemail.
Okay. Did you try the 2695? Did it end in?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Maybe we try holding up a sign.
I love
Mr.
technology.
Cage, Mr. Cage, can you hear us? Hello, Mr. Cage, can you hear us?
Hold on, guys. I'm talking to him right now.
Okay,
All right,
good.
perfect.
Okay. Hey, guys, what I'm going to do is put my cell phone on speaker. Mr. Gage, can you hear us now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yes.
Can you guys hear
Okay.
him?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, that's what I'm going to do. He's on my cell phone on speaker.
All right, then I will begin again. Mr. Gage, on June 5th, 2020, you sent us a legal notice indicating that you want Mr. Rushke to recuse himself and his firm from these proceedings. I personally have no intention of asking Mr. Rushke to recuse himself or his firm. In a moment, I will give you an opportunity to respond to that. But first, I would ask you how Mr. Rushke's is precluding you from exercising your First and your 14th Amendment rights.
Well, this is has to do with connection of which is these are two pending cases, federal case court, and it has to do with connection of law firm to my defendants, and they are impeding me to look at my life, and then that's why I know there's a connection. So I have a knowledge of that. So I either because the connection doesn't make me feel like comfortable based on what he already says in his review, you know.
But what does that have to do with your First or your 14th Amendment rights, sir?
Well, to use my land, okay, the use of my land that will be if I exercise the current application and without interfering obstructive applications, you know, because I see it as an obstruction obstruction application.
Okay. I am not going to ask Mr. Reschke to recuse himself or to recuse his firm, but if anybody else on the board would like him to, you can certainly make such a motion. Mr. Reschke, I assume that you do not feel uncomfortable and that you see no reason to recuse yourself. Is that correct?
Yeah, I have no knowledge of the litigation that he refers to. I have no past experience or knowledge or any experience with Mr. Cage. It's, you know, I feel I have no conflict.
Okay.
Can I ask you if you ever talk, you or your firm ever contacted the law firm of Sackle from Somerset County?
I can say that I am the office manager for our Morristown office, and the Morristown office does not work for Somerset County at all, and I have no experience with our work with Somerset County. Again, I have no knowledge regarding any work with Somerset County or any involvement with your litigation.
Okay, let me tell you something. Your firm is not. I show you the. I submit 2 samples where they had a meeting with Somerset County. Hello.
Okay, Mr. Gage, I would point out that that the board. In a moment, I will ask the board again if anybody wants to make a motion to have Mr. Reschke or his firm recused. But I'll point out to you that the board will require a report from an engineer. If Mr. Reschke recuses himself or his firm from the proceedings, it will delay your application because we will have to get a recommendation from Mr. Reschke for another engineering firm, and that firm would have to have time to review all of the documents. Would you be willing to work with a firm recommended by Mr. Reschke, who the board would then hire?
Well, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I think Bill would.
Hold on. If Mr. Reschke had a conflict, we wouldn't take his recommendation for another engineer. But from my understanding of these emails, Mr. Reschke's firm is not a defendant in the litigation. Mr. Reschke obviously is not a defendant in the litigation. I don't understand the concept of saying, well, I've got a problem with Somerset County, and Mr. Reschke's firm or some member may have done some work for Somerset County, that creates a conflict. I think that is so far afield of conflict rules that
this is
not tenable.
I understand what you say. Totally, I understand, but you don't understand what I'm saying. I've been through this before. Okay, this is it's like I'm seeing the second movie. You know, it's these people they work through law firms. And they do. You know, I don't want to go through the details of my case, but if I don't feel comfortable with something, so I don't feel that would be fair. Okay, so that'll be by law they have to excuse themselves.
Okay.
Now, I can also, you can proceed to this meeting tonight. That comment could be resolved in something else. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I was willing to listen to you guys tonight. See if you agree to have my application complete. If not, then we move different way.
Would you say that again, please, sir? I didn't understand the end of what you said.
I said, well, either if tonight I want to know from you, from the board, if you're willing to accept the application as it is, complete. If not, I proceed in a different way. But now I'm waiting for you, the board, to move this application forward or not.
Okay, but first we have to deal with these letters that you've sent us.
Yes.
And so I will ask first, would anybody from the board want to make a motion to have Mr. Reschke recuse himself and or his firm from further deliberations in this matter?
No.
No.
Okay. In that case, Mr. Gage, we are going to proceed with the completeness hearing, and Mr. Reschke from Mott McDonald is going to be our engineer of record. Now, getting to the completeness hearing, Mr. Gage wants us to to deem his application complete. I would like to refer then to the letter of May 21st, 2020 from Mr. Rushke. Mr. Gage, do you have that letter?
I mean,
It's the letter from Mont McDonald.
yeah. Yeah, May 21st?
Yes, that's the one.
Yes, I do.
Okay, in that, if we could go to completeness, number 1, the comments, the site contains critical areas that have not been addressed. Flood hazard, FHA, flood hazard area associated with the on-site stream has not been defined. Applicant should obtain a non-applicability determination from NJDEP and present it to us. An absence determination or a letter of interpretation for wetlands should be obtained from NJDEP Division of Land Use Regulation. Now, I see that you have sent a couple of emails to them requesting certain things, and you've put some deadlines on them. Just because you put deadlines on them does not mean that they have to comply with that. So I think that you are still not, we still don't have any information explaining the flood hazard area associated with this on-site stream. Do you or anyone else want to comment about that?
I want to say that I don't see any critical area. That's a perfect. There's no critical area over there. There's no reasons to me to do all what is no need to do. And also the fact of the matter, there is the DPA has no jurisdiction, and then I've been proven that. So also you have there a conflict of interest with the state, any of. So this is the critical part. So like I said, if your board believes that I need anything from the state, then I gotta take this case in different ways.
Okay. If we go to the next comment, a disturbance of greater than 1,500 square feet require a lot grading plan as per Borough Code, Chapter 197, lot grading plan. Lot grading plan has not been submitted. If all you have to do is tell us that there is not going to be a disturbance greater than 1,500 square feet, and that one will be taken care of. I was over there the other day, and it's a very flat piece of property. I don't see why there would be a disturbance of over 1,500 square feet. Do you believe that there would be, sir?
No, I believe not. No.
Okay, so there's no need to have a lot grading plan. If we go to the next comment, the application does not address stormwater control requirements. Now, this is something that we do require of everyone. If you're going to be putting up a home, and if there's going to be impervious coverage, and there are going to be gutters and downspouts, we have to know where that water is going to be directed. And we do not have that information.
Yes, and those I thought something like that would be like a complying with the application of construction permit. It's something that comes.
Well, no, we have to have that before you get a permit, sir. We have to have that as part of the application because sometimes we require a 10-year storm plan, sometimes a 100-year. So we have to have that.
Yes.
And this is something we ask of all people making application to put up a home.
Alan?
Yes.
Just want to go reference back to the architectural plans references that the maximum lot coverage that is proposed is 2,500 square feet. So I think the statement that the applicant made that he's not going to disturb more than 1,500 square feet is not accurate.
Okay.
I show you the plans. That's what I'm gonna do.
Well, I think there are a lot of things missing. If you go to the technical review, Existing and proposed contours, site grading are not there. Stormwater management is not there. Construction details are not there. Location of existing utility mains within Brown Trail and the location of proposed utility service lines is not there. Soil erosion, I mean, everything in the report there is lacking.
Yeah, the question will be, I'm looking for approval to build this, the footprint of this house, right? So if I'm gonna throw, like I said in my argument, $100,000 of work, then I have to come.
Oh, come on now. Where did you get that? That number, $100,000 is, you shouldn't throw that out. There's no basis for that whatsoever. That's unfair for the board.
Nor is there any basis. Nor is there any basis to believe that there would be an increase of at least 25% of the property values on Brown Trail.
Yeah. Usually that's what happens in those areas when you put it.
Well, usually it doesn't matter, sir. I would like to cut off this discussion and just see if there's anything else that you want to present to us, sir.
I'm presenting exactly what I submitted. Okay.
So we have a document. We have two documents. We have the document asking that Mr. Rushke recuse himself and his firm, and we have another document also dated June 5th, which is, I believe, 10 pages. Let's see, no, 5 pages. 1, 2, 3 pages, and then 2 emails, and then a bunch of pictures. Would anybody from the board like to make a motion to deem this application complete?
No. No.
Okay, seeing no one, I have to tell you, Mr. Gage, that your application is not.
Let's have an affirmative vote.
Okay.
Motion to deem it incomplete.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to make it, that the current application as it sits right now is incomplete.
I'll second it.
Okay. Danielle, make sure you call only the voting members, please.
Can I suggest something? Can I suggest something?
Go ahead.
This vote is based on what? On a review of Mr. John, the engineer?
No, this is based upon the information that you presented to us.
Based upon the checklist.
It's based on review of John.
Which is based upon the checklist in our ordinance.
Right.
Yeah, that was from John. Exactly.
That's our ordinance.
Dictated by ordinance.
Exactly. Yes or no?
No.
It's based upon the ordinance, whether it's Mr. Rushke or anybody else.
John provided a review and you are going with it. Understand that? Because if you want to bring it up, you know, bring it up, that's not, right? So that's my point. You want to vote on the vote.
It would still be incomplete, regardless.
We're going to vote now.
Hey, Alan, my motion is clearly dedicated to the ordinances that provide the specifications and statutes for this.
Thank you, Ron.
I can also, argue it. There's enough fair. You understand?
The discussion is over, sir. You've had your chance to present everything. We now have a motion on the floor, and we are going to vote on this motion. Danielle, please call the roll.
Confirm to me that my question is that you, based on a review.
Sir, please stop talking. You are out of order. You had your chance. Go ahead, Danielle, call the roll.
Mr. Duncan?
Yes.
Mr. Gaffney?
Yes.
Mr. Rahill?
Yes.
Mr. Riley?
Yes.
Mr. Toppin?
Yes.
Councilman Schindler?
Councilman Schindler?
Oh, hold on.
Rich, you're muted.
I got him. Hold on.
Now.
To him.
You and Rich are fighting.
There we go. He's got it.
Yes.
Thank you. Mayor Francis?
Yeah.
Mr. Gilbert?
Yes. Mr. Gage, your application has been deemed incomplete. In order for you to proceed, you're going to have to meet the requirements and have this deemed complete before we can hear any further argument on this matter.
Alan, I would
Yes.
encourage Mr. Cage to listen to the next application, which was deemed complete, which I think is typical of what the board is the nature of the applications the boards typically hear for these type of applications. So I think it would be to his benefit just to see what the board typically does deem complete.
Okay, thank you, John. Okay, we are going to move on to new application, the DiVenuto Family Revocable Trust.
Alan,
Block
I have a
50.
question first.
Who's
Alan,
that? Yes.
it's Mark. Yeah. Did we vote on the minutes from the last?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, we didn't.
Okay.
Do we have those minutes? Yes. Let's go back before completeness. We might have done this, but we'll do it before the new application. Minutes from the meeting of May 19th, 2020. Thank you, Mark.
Yes.
Electronically distributed, and we were asked to provide input. Is there any addition or correction to the minutes of that meeting? Okay, then I will accept a motion for to approve the minutes of May 19th, 2020.
Make a motion?
Second.
Okay, Danielle?
Mr. Duncan?
Yes.
Mr. Gaffney?
Yes.
Mr. Lejo? Oh,
Lejo's
sorry. I know, I'm sorry. Mr. Rahill?
Yes.
Mr. Riley?
Yes.
Mr. Toppin?
Yes.
Councilman Schindler?
Yes.
Mayor Francis?
Yes.
Mr. Gilbert?
Yes. Okay, now we'll go to the new application, the DiVenuto Family Revocable Trust, Block 50402, Lot 2, 1025 Mohawk Trail. The applicant proposes to make improvements on the property with additions to the existing dwelling. The existing shed and non-conforming garage are to be removed. The existing dwelling will be expanded as explained in the minutes, or in the
I went to
on the agenda. Okay, is there someone here from the DiVenuto family?
Hello,
Mr.
Good evening.
Colabella?
this is Chris Colabella on behalf
Oh,
of the
Chris.
DiVenuto Trust.
Okay, Chris doesn't have to be sworn in.
We do
Chris,
have-
is there anyone who is going to be testifying?
Yes, we have Barbara DiVenuto's here.
Hello, Barbara. Okay, she'll have to be
You're
sworn.
muted. You're muted, Barbara. We have Jim Glasson,
Okay,
and we have Marjorie Roller.
okay, they will all have to be sworn in, Bill, if you would.
Yes, yes, okay. Everyone, please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
And Mr. Glasson, you're a licensed engineer in the state of New Jersey, is that right?
Yes, I am.
And you've testified before the board in the past,
Yes, numerous times.
and you were actively involved in the preparation of these plans.
Correct.
Okay, Chris, it's on you.
Yes, if I could also have Miss Roller qualified as well. She's a licensed architect.
Oh, okay. And please raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And you are Marjorie Roller?
I am.
And spell your last name, please.
Roller.
Very easy. And you were actively involved in these plans, and you've testified before land use boards in the past, I take it?
I have, and I'm also would be qualifying as a professional planner tonight.
Okay. All right.
So I would ask the board to accept the qualifications of both our engineer and architect.
Any objection to that? Okay, they are accepted, Chris.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Glasson, I would just like to start with you if possible. And I'd like to make reference to the plans that were prepared and submitted to the board relative to this application. And the plans are variance plans dated January 17, 2020. And I was hoping that maybe Danielle could put those up if possible.
Hold on one second.
There we go.
Thank you, Danielle.
Nice.
And Mr. Haggerty, I'm assuming we would just mark these normally, and perhaps you would mark it.
Well, if we can reference these if they're the same documents that were submitted with the application.
Okay.
And I think preliminarily, I think perhaps the board should review the application for completeness. And I just asked Mr. Rushke if he has reviewed the application and feels that the application is complete.
Yes, Bill, I did deem the application complete.
Okay. Yeah, Mr. Colabello, if you're going to refer to the identical documents that were provided with the application, we can just talk about them. What we're showing on the screen right now is the plans prepared by Civil Engineering Inc., the cover sheet. Again, as you indicated, dated January 17, 2020.
That's right. So, Mr. Glasson, you prepared these plans, is that accurate?
Yes, I did.
Could you please, for the board, describe the lot that we're dealing with?
Yes, if we could turn to the second sheet, 206 is the existing conditions. The property is 1025 Mohawk Trail. It actually has about 195 feet of frontage on Mohawk, and if you look up on the right-hand side, it's a triangular piece. Right-hand side shows that it also has 131 feet of frontage on Bear Pond Trail. The house actually fronts on Mohawk. It has it's a 1.5-story, 2-bedroom home. It has a footprint of 705 square feet. There are 2 other structures on the property. In the rear, adjacent to Bear Pond, is a small shed of 111 square feet. And then in the front, actually fronting directly on Mohawk Trail, is a small shed of 196 square feet. The shed is located 6.2 feet off that front property line. It's non-conforming in that we're in the R1 zone with a 40-foot front setback. I don't know if you can see the setback line on the plan, but there's a dashed line that kind of circumvents or cuts through a corner of the house also. The house itself, the closest corner to that front, is 29 feet, where 40 feet is the requirement. When you add up the coverages that are out there with the 3 structures and a gravel driveway that exists, the existing lot coverage right now is 23%, where 35% is allowed in that zone. And the building coverage is only 10.5, where 20% is allowed. Besides that, we have recently had a septic system installed in November of 2019. That's on the right-hand side. If you look to the right corner there, you'll see a septic disposal bed. We put in a 1,000-gallon septic tank and advanced treatment unit, and we have a small disposal bed for the 2-bedroom home. The home is served by an on-lot well that's 200-foot depth with 80 feet of casing as it presently exists.
And the septic was designed for how many bedrooms, sir?
2 bedrooms.
Thank you.
Mr. Glasson, are there any buildings on the property that are going to be removed?
Yes, we're going to remove the shed, the 111 square foot shed that's located what I'm going to call behind the home, which is actually on Bear Pond Trail. And then in front of the home, the 196 square foot garage.
Okay. And with regard to the lot, and you're evaluating the lot itself, does it require variances to move forward with the building project?
Yes, it does. It requires, well, there's some inherent variances with the lot itself in that it's undersized in lot area. If on my cover sheet of my plans, I discussed the 3 inherent variances with the property, where lot area, 15,000 is the required R1. This is 9556. A lot with requirements 145. This has 115. And the lot depth is 100. This has 97. So there are 3 non-conforming features with the lot as it currently exists. We are asking for 1 new variance, and that relates to the principal structure, which we're proposing additions to. If you could flip the plan to sheet 3, I'll walk you through what we're proposing. Sheet 3 in the crosshatched area are additions to the home. We're removing that garage that sat 6.2 feet off of the right-of-way on Mohawk, and we're adding an addition to the right side in the front of the home. It's a 2-story addition. The remaining 2 bedrooms, there would be a single bedroom on the first floor and another bedroom on the second floor, so the bedroom size does not change. We are proposing to eliminate a large portion of the gravel area that was to the right of the existing home. And we're proposing, we do have a small gravel area there, but we're proposing an actual driveway now off of Bear Pond to a garage that accesses off of, I'm going to call it the rear of the home. We've called this out as a front-facing Mohawk. So now that front requirement, which was previously 29 existing, now is reduced to 15.1 in the front right corner of that crosshatch area. That is larger than the 6.2 that exists in the garage that presently exists there, but it's still non-conforming where 40 feet is the requirement. So that's our variance. The fact that we don't meet that front yard requirement.
Is there also a request for a minimum side yard setback as well?
No, we're okay on our side yard. Our left-hand side yard setback's 10 feet, and we have 10.1 and 10.7 to the
Exactly.
Our impervious coverage, although it's increased to 32%, it's still under the allowable 35, and the building coverage, although it's increased to 19.76, is still under the 20%. And for our increase in coverage, for that 905 square feet that we've increased, we've taken a portion of the roof area that's on another sheet of the plans it's shown, and we've infiltrated it into a drywall that we've proposed located in the front, directly in front of the dwelling, kind of centered on the front of the house. 10 by 10 excavation and that 945 square feet of roof area, for a good portion of that new dwelling is being routed underground to that to mitigate any potential runoff.
So effectively, the plan keeps the runoff on the property?
What it does is it mitigates any increase, and we're basically mitigating our runoff to stay at the percentages that we're at now.
Understood. Understood. Any other major changes to the property that the plans propose?
No, the left side of the property, I don't know if you can see the crosshatch there. There's a large rock outcrop that exists between us and the neighbor to the left. But that's remaining. We are proposing a screen porch in the front left corner that has a deck above it. That's really, the septic system remains and is tied into the new home. The electric is still supplied from overhead. The well remains and will be utilized for the new dwelling.
Okay. Before I move on to Ms. Roller, I'd like to open up the floor to questions. If anyone has questions of Mr. Glasson.
Does anybody from the board have questions?
No. Looks like a good plan to me.
Okay. So if I could, Ms. Roller, you had an opportunity to prepare the architectural plans for this structure?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And those plans were also submitted as part of this package, as part of this application. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. And if you could you just describe to the board the project in terms of the structure?
So the existing home is quite run down. I don't believe it has much heat and certainly has no insulation. There's a dilapidated garage on the site as well, and a shed. And so what we propose to do is we're going to use the existing foundation and most of the house footprint, and then add to it. The addition itself for living space is going to be about 692 square feet. And then there's the attached garage, which is 316 square feet, and a screen porch with a deck above, as Jim reviewed with you. We don't propose to do any blasting. There's a lot of rock, but what we may do some local jackhammering just to get access to there is an existing basement, loosely termed basement, and maybe to remove the loose upper layers of rock where we'll be pouring a slab for the garage.
Okay, thank you. Could you also, I'm sorry.
And I should also mention that we're adding a second floor over the entire, both the first floor, the existing first floor, and the additions. So it will become a 2.5-story home instead of a 1-story home.
Okay. And did you have an opportunity to review the surrounding land uses to make a determination or form an opinion with regard to whether or not it fits into this particular neighborhood?
I did, and the site and the surrounding areas is all R1 zone, and the homes that's in any lake community have grown organically. There are some bigger, there are some larger. I'd like to stress what Jim brought up is that despite the irregularities of this particular site, which is severely irregular because of the triangle, as well as being substandard size, we've been able to maintain the constraints of the area. So the actual request is fairly diminutive. And on the positive side, there are multiple positives to this project. Obviously removing the existing garage that sits 6 feet from Mohawk Trail, which I might add is also less than 6 feet from the house, and in some ordinances would be considered part of the principal structure because it doesn't meet that separation that you need for a accessory structure. So we're removing that, and it's a terrible eyesore. We will be removing a shed that also sits on the Bear Pond side that is less of an eyesore, but an improvement for sure. It's going to be appropriately sized to the neighborhood. As Jim testified, we're collecting the extra roof runoff in the old cistern location. And it's in keeping with the neighborhood. We try to improve the aesthetics of the home, which actually wasn't that hard to do because the present home is very dilapidated. From a negative standpoint, the house, the most impacted would be the neighbor, I would say, to the adjoining neighbor. There's only one neighbor that really adjoins this property, and they are on a severely undersized lot. And the portion of which is to the left side of our home, and the portion that they will be interacting with is actually sets quite a bit further back from Mohawk than what we are requesting. And so it's a de minimis negative effect, and we think that the improvements well outweigh the negative.
The elevation is considerably different, isn't it? Between
yes, they're much lower. They're below the rock, basically.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Roller. Mr. Glasson, did you have an opportunity to review the letter prepared by Mr. Rushke dated May 27, 2020?
Yes, I did.
And with regard to the technical review on page 2 of 3, did you have a chance to review the 7 items in that review?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And will you be able to conform the plans and to, for example, it indicates here a zoning table on the plan sheet 1, this is number 2, and the plan sheet should be revised to reflect a required side yard setback of 15 feet and that a variance is being requested?
Yes.
Okay. And if you can go through number 3, can we comply with that as well?
I'm trying to get the letter. Hold on. Just read it to me because I'm having...
Sure. It's a soil boring log should be provided at the location of the proposed dry well to confirm the depth to ledge rock and soil permeability. The New Jersey Best Management Practices Manual requires that a dry well have a 2-foot vertical clearance from bedrock. A shallow trench system may be necessary.
Yep, no, not an issue. The reason I put that infiltration area there is because that's the indication right now of the existing septic tank that was there. So that is an area of the property that they did get a hole, and it's a very much a rocky lot. So that was the reason why I picked that area, because it probably is one of the only areas other than the area that I probed around and got the septic in on that right-hand side. I have to meet a requirement of 50 feet from that septic. kind of the area that I chose.
Okay, and it's just requesting a soil boring log.
Right.
And will we be able to provide that?
Yes.
Okay. Number
And by the
4
way,
is,
I have the soil conservation approval. I don't know if that was one of the items that was, I don't know if the board got that, but we do have the application and the approval from Sussex County Soil Conservation District.
all right, great. The 4th item was the existing trees and all trees to be removed as part of the subject application should be clearly identified.
That's not a problem.
Okay. And then 5, proposed landscaping should be shown on the plans if there is proposed landscaping.
Yep, not a problem. Then we'll just do replacements for some of those trees that they're taking down.
All right. And number 6, comply with Board of Health requirements for disposal of cesspool remains.
Yes, that's understood.
Okay. And lastly, I think you just mentioned that
actually has been already decommissioned.
the cesspool has been.
The cesspool and the septic is signed up, so the cesspool area is done.
Okay. And lastly, I think you just said this soil erosion and sediment control plan certification or exemption must be obtained from Sussex County. And you said that just came in.
We didn't get an exemption. We actually got one.
That we actually got it. Yeah, we got the we got the plan.
Right. We didn't
the certification.
We got an actual certification.
Yes. Okay. And with that said, I would open up the at this point the floor to the board to ask any questions of the professionals.
I have one question about the architectural plans. I'm looking at page 3, the upper floor, second floor plan, and I see there's an office/storage space with 14 feet wide and even quite a bit longer. I don't know the length of it, but it shows 14 foot wide. There's no closet in that room. That is not going to be a bedroom.
Mr. Gilbert, could you please make a reference to a page?
Yes, I did. Page 3 of the architectural plans.
Page 3. Oh, thank you.
ZD 102. Yes, the area over the garage is a bonus area.
Right here. Yep.
Yeah, that's a bonus area over the garage under the eaves type space that they're going to utilize for storage or possibly an office.
But not for a bedroom.
No, they don't. It doesn't have an egress window, nor does it have closets.
Okay, I would like, if we put this in form of a resolution, I would like the resolution to include the fact that that is not to be used as a third bedroom, even if they put a portable closet in there.
We can do that,
also,
Mr. Chairman.
Does that also go for the loft area, which is even larger than the office space?
That as well, yep.
Yes.
Yeah, if the septic was designed for 2 bedrooms, then I want to make sure that we keep this as 2 bedrooms. Okay. Anybody else from the board have questions or comments?
I have one question. I couldn't find out where the well, maybe I'm just blind, but I couldn't see where the well was on the plan and how far it is from the septic system. Are we okay there?
Yes.
Yes, the well's directly behind. If you look at the proposed plan, that last sheet that was up there, it's directly behind the existing structure, straight out in line with that, and we meet the requirement. It has 80 feet of casing. There's actually a radius on the plan. There's a radius that's shown on the plan right now that shows that it clears the septic system.
Is the well on the plan, or I'm just not seeing it?
No, it's on there. There's an actual, you see the circle on sheet 3? There's a large circle on the sheet that encompasses the property, a big circle around.
Yep.
That is the well right in the center of that.
Oh, I got you. Where that dot is in the center.
You got it. Yep. It says existing well, 200 feet deep, 80 feet of casing.
Yep. So you're far enough away from the leach pit.
We just clear it. We designed the leach field exactly in that spot to clear it by exactly the required distance.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or questions from the board? Okay, seeing none, I will open this to the public. Would anybody from the public like to comment on this application? Just on this application, anybody at all? Danielle or Ron, do you see anyone? Danielle, you're muted.
I see that. I got it. I do not see anybody raising their hands right now.
Okay, then I'll bring it back to the board. Would somebody from the board like to make a motion on this application?
I'll make the motion.
With the stipulations Alan mentioned before, so we keep the bedrooms 2 and everything copacetic.
Yes.
Okay.
I second it.
Danielle,
Mr.
please
Duncan?
call the roll.
Mr. Duncan?
Yes.
Mr. Gaffney?
Yes.
Mr. Luja- oh, sorry. Mr. Rahill?
Yes.
Mr. Riley?
Yes.
Mr. Toppin?
Yes.
Councilman Schindler?
Yes.
Mayor Francis?
Yes.
Mr. Gilbert?
Yes. Okay, your application has been approved.
Very good.
One-
Thank you
one
very
thing.
much.
Thank
One
you.
thing, I like the fact that so much detail was put into the design and the effort in the documents.
Yes.
That we went through a lot of great painstaking detail to reduce the number of variances, which is something we always think about. So I appreciate the design professionals doing that.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Duncan.
Thank you.
Duncan, I can say the same thing. This is probably one of the best applications we've seen in a while.
Yeah, very thorough.
Thank you.
Now, when
Pleasure to
do you
review.
plan on proceeding with this, with the construction?
I could ask Ms. DiVenuto.
Well, actually, I was waiting to see if everything was approved before I start searching out a contractor to help me build the house.
Okay,
So
fine.
I will be coming up to New Jersey the end of June and start the process then.
Okay, fine. The reason I asked was to basically to know whether or not you needed a waiver of memorialization, but I don't think you do. So
Will that be memorialized at your next meeting?
yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. We're good.
30 days.
Okay.
It'll be
All right,
the
thank you
second
very
meeting
much.
in July, Alan.
What?
Second, yeah.
It'll be the second meeting in July, not the first one.
30 days.
Second. So that would be the 21st of July.
Mm-mm.
Yeah,
Versus
that'll be
17.
adequate.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you for your time.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
all.
Have a good
I
night.
appreciate it.
Thank you very
so
much.
Right.
Okay, zoning officer report. Bill?
Yes, we did have, we've had, I guess, maybe at least 3 restaurants that have come in to talk about their outdoor dining. And very basically, we're kind of wondering what to do with that. You know, I don't want to stand in their way at all. And, but at the same time, you know, Danielle did some searching and she came up with an application that one of the other towns was using, and it's an application that doesn't have any fees involved, but it does just outline what's going on, and it does point out the fact that it's in step with the New Jersey executive order, and I believe would therefore be only in effect while that order was in effect. So at any rate, Danielle had printed that out, and as a matter of fact, she printed out the executive order as well. And just wanted to see what the board thought we should be doing with this.
Before we get to that, I have a question about, suppose an establishment is not keeping to the executive order. Who has the responsibility of enforcing it? Bill,
Sussex County prosecutor,
Yes.
not us.
Not us.
This is not a land use issue. This is an executive order issue that the Borough Council has said, has approved the outdoor dining as long as the enterprises are in compliance with all existing executive orders until the emergency is over. It requires no applications. It requires them just not to be too dumb about it. But but really the whole intent of it was to stop this bureaucratic stuff and let our businesses get back in business. And from what I've seen so far as site work goes, I mean, one of them put up a tent, another one put up a tent and didn't use it. And I've not seen much other activity that's out of the normal.
Now, the consensus seems to be that this should be handled not through the land use board, but rather through the police power. It's a temporary stopgap, God willing, repair, and let it run its course. As long as we don't have any safety issues, I think we'll be fine.
Yeah, and the other issue is actually the guidance really comes from the Department of Health and the Board of Health. That's really, most of the guidance is coming from that. And so that's a jurisdiction that they are responsible for, not us.
Okay.
That's all the food handling kind of thing, right?
Yeah. We just try to enable the businesses to initiate this quickly. I mean, for example, I think if you serve alcohol and you're not gonna do it within the building, some liquor licenses don't permit you to do anything outside of the door. And if you do, under this case, you have to go to the state. There's a $75 temporary permit until the emergency is over for if you can serve outside of your normal place where you serve your liquor. So, for example, Patrick Pub, if he wanted to serve liquor in the parking lot, he'd have to get that certification from the state to add on to his liquor license, and they'll do it, and they have done it in numerous cases with a $75 fee. Otherwise, he can only serve alcohol under the current previous rules of his liquor license. Now that's a state issue, and if someone violates that, they could lose their liquor license.
Right.
And Mr. Mayor, I do know to this date that Patrick's has applied for that through our clerk's office. He's done everything to the letter of the executive order and to the law.
Okay, so that's that. I mean, we just, hopefully it helps our businesses, and hopefully they get real busy and they can carry it through the season, because last year they got hammered. I haven't checked with Provincials. I'll stop there tomorrow and ask Mario how he's doing to make sure that.
Mayor, you may want to wait till Friday to ask him that, because he's not very happy with us right now because we've driveway blocked up for the streetscape. I'd wait till Friday to do that.
Well,
don't they already have outdoor dining at their facility?
Yes.
Both of those places?
Yeah,
but Ron,
Yeah.
you say that Patrick's has been following all the rules. I drove by yesterday and that deck was packed. I'm sure they were not exercising social distancing properly.
Alan, when I say he's exercised all the rules, he's applied and got his certifications through his liquor license and stuff of that nature.
Okay.
Distancing, again, that's a county prosecutor's issue. But what he's done as far as getting his liquor license extended for outdoor use and stuff of that nature, he's totally in compliance.
Okay, thank you.
Let's hope they succeed so we don't lose them in town.
You got that right. You got that right.
No? That's what's most important for us.
No, I think what's most important for us is safety.
That is true. It's a dual issue. It's a dual issue. It is. We got to keep everybody safe. All these businesses were hammered from the algae bloom from last year. They never recouped from that. And now we go again with this.
Yeah, it's the mother nature. It's worse.
It is.
Sad.
Yeah, well, I don't want to see this coronavirus spreading again.
Yeah, none of us do.
No.
Okay. Bill, do you have anything else? Did we answer any questions you had?
I think so. I think the consensus is that just kind of hands off and just be vigilant and hope they do well.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else from you, Bill?
No, that's it from me.
Okay. Discussion. Is there any discussion that we need to take care of? Okay. Resolutions. We have two resolutions. First is Thomas Cranmer, hearing date May 19th, 2020. Motion is in order to approve the Cranmer resolution for permitting variances for the installation of plastic shed in the front yard of a parcel improved with a single-family home at 425 Maxim Drive I might want to mention that he has already taken down the 2 structures that he said he would.
Yep.
That was my question. Good man.
Yep, I noticed the other day the small one in the back was down, but the one in the front was not. And as I came by today, I saw that the one in the front is gone. So does somebody want to make a motion on this?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Danielle, you're muted.
I know my dogs were fighting. I'm sorry. Mr. Duncan?
Yes.
Mr. Gaffney?
Yes.
Mr. Rahal?
Yes.
Mr. Riley?
Yes.
Mr. Chapman?
Yes.
Councilman Schindler?
Yes.
Mayor Francis?
Yes.
Mr. Gilbert?
Yes. Next, David and Ann Farber. Motion is in order to approve the Farber resolution of May 19, 2020, permitting variances for the expansion of an existing boathouse and dock at 353 Lakeside Boulevard.
Make a motion.
Motion?
Second?
Mr. Duncan?
Yes.
Mr. Gaffney?
Yes.
Mr. Rahal?
Yes.
Mr. Riley?
Yes.
Mr. Tappan?
Yes.
Councilman Schindler?
Yes.
Mayor Francis?
Yes.
Mr. Gilbert?
Yes.
Alan, there were
Refund.
2 more resolutions on the addendum.
Oh, okay. I didn't get an addendum.
Did I not email it out? I
No.
sent the resolutions.
What do we have, Danielle?
Jean and Jocelyn Say-Juice,
Okay,
the subdivision over on Hudson Avenue,
right. That was the hearing date also the 19th?
May 19th.
Yes, May 19th. Okay, that was the subdivision. If anybody have a question about which one we're dealing with?
Is that with the wall?
Lots 1 and 4.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, Danielle. Oh, wait, we need a motion.
I need a motion.
Make a motion.
I'll second.
Mr. Duncan?
Yes.
Mr. Gaffney?
Yes.
Mr. Rahal?
Yes.
Mr. Riley?
Yes.
Mr. Tappan?
Yes.
Councilman Schindler?
Yes.
Mayor Francis?
Said yes.
Mr. Gilbert?
Yes. Okay, and what is the 4th one?
The other one was for the Duran project, the Lola's restaurant, the old one.
Lola. Yep. Okay. Now we got a correspondence about that from from the lawyer,
Heffley.
Heffley, that they are holding off on consolidating the lots until they get notice that that everything is clear on that remuneration there. And
So I revised the resolution to encompass that,
okay.
similar to the previous resolution where we had the same issue. So the representation that was made at the hearing, frankly, wasn't accurate.
Right.
And still pending.
Okay. Bill, did you put in the resolution a cutoff date on that?
I believe that I thought we'd had a date in there, that a sunset date on that.
Yeah, because I don't want to give them, I mean, they've had
No,
pretty open.
It's not carte blanche. It is not.
Right.
The resolution
No.
stated they couldn't combine them until they had the no further action letter.
Right. But I thought that there was a date there too. Wait. Get that out.
Where's the dog, Danielle?
Let's see.
They're behind me.
I'll make sure we monitor it. I'm sorry, I don't have it here in the file. I should have.
Okay.
But I think we're okay. I think we're fine.
All right. Somebody want to make a motion?
Ah, that's a great dog. I love that dog.
He heard you talking.
I'll
Somebody
make the motion.
motion?
Yes, I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Pick it up, Danielle.
Who's second?
Bob Duncan.
Okay. Mr. Duncan?
Yes.
Mr. Gaffney?
Yes.
Mr. Rahal?
Yes.
Mr. Riley,
Yes.
Mr. Toppin,
Yes.
Councilman Schindler,
Answer.
Yes.
Mayor Francis,
Yeah.
Mr. Gilbert.
Abstain.
Danielle, you got to raise the dog up. We can't see it.
Yeah, right.
That's
There we go.
We missed the happen, but we can't see that. There we
Ah,
go.
Jeez.
That's a great dog.
Oh, he can be in your council meeting tomorrow too.
Well, I'm doing the meeting from your office, so you're gonna get dog hair all over your office, but I can make that happen.
Yeah, bring him to work.
Christie's had no problem doing that.
She would love it.
Okay. Escrow refunds, there are none. Bills, does anybody want to pay the bills?
Oh, but I recommend we pay the bills.
Second.
Make a motion.
Okay, is there a second?
Yep. Mr. Duncan,
Yes.
Mr. Gaffney,
Yes.
Mr. Rahal,
Yes.
Andy,
Mr.
come here.
Riley,
Yes.
Mr. Toppin,
Yes, you had to show it.
Yes.
Mayor Francis.
Yes, look at
Mr.
Danielle's dog.
Yes. Okay, at this point, I will
Nobody
open the
said
meeting
woof.
to the public for any issues at all. Is there anything at all that a member of the public would like to address this board in reference to?
Danielle, this is where you ask them to hit the reaction button to put up a hand.
Oh, if anybody wants to comment, then you need to hit the reaction button and raise your hand.
Okay, seeing none, I will bring it back to the board. Is there any old business? Is there any new business?
I just like,
Yes.
Oh, go ahead.
The next meeting is what date, Alan?
The next meeting is the 7th of July, the first Tuesday of July.
That was, okay, so it's not the vote date? It's not the,
Right. Well, that is the date for primary election, but the courtroom will not be used. We will continue to have virtual meeting.
okay.
Okay.
I just wanted to just let the board know on or about the week of June 22nd, the harvesters will be in Crescent Cove and River Styx area. The commission is providing that. We are providing the transportation of the weeds to the Morris MUA, and they are paying for that as well. But we're just providing the transportation for that in our trucks. But the weed harvesting will happen starting, it looks like it's first of next week. And the aeration of the Cove Sticks has got the green light from the DEP. We owe them one document that the contractor has to give them. Once that happens, he has a green light to start.
Good.
Okay.
one other thing, I don't know whether you heard it or not, but Landing is starting a lake water treatment using a thing called Phos Block,
Yes.
which is a bentonite slurry they've taken the calcium and sodium ions out and replaced them with lanthanum ions at +3 ion. And supposedly has done very well in Australia and it's gotten patented, and they're going to go ahead and start. I think they started yesterday. They were supposed to start on the 15th. It'll be very interesting to see how it works.
My DPW supervisors attended a training at the commission this past week on this sock filled. It's like a carbon-based prohibitive that they're going to put on edges of where they see a lot of runoff. My guys have been trained in it. The commission has given us the supplies for it, and they'll be establishing to put those as an additional barrier for phosphorus runoff on the lakesides as well. All four surrounding areas: Jefferson, Mount Arlington, ourselves, and Sparta was in the meeting, and we've all put in our people to help do that as well.
Good. Is there anything else? Okay, Mr. Legio is not here. Would somebody like to make a motion for adjournment?
I'll make a motion for adjournment.
We
I
are
second.
adjourned. Danielle, you need the paperwork.
Yes, if anybody can drop their papers either in the bin outside the municipal building or bring them into my office, I would appreciate it.
It'll be Monday, dear.
All done. We'll be doing it.
Okay, Ron,
trip,
good luck
Ron.
down in Florida for Virginia. And
Thank you, sir.
I'll see everybody on the 7th of July.
Okay.